Hello there everybody and welcome to my quick and easy character creation guide for Jagged Alliance 3. In this video I'm going to guide you through the character creator, how to use it, how to create the mercenaries that you want, how to understand the stats well, and how to get the character that you need. So let's get started. First off, where do you find that thing? Merc info and IMP web gets you to the mercenary profile thingy. You click on login and then you pay up 7,000 bucks. Then you either take a personality test, which is quite a fun read, or you just skip it and you get to the manual stat selector. I highly recommend you to go for starters like this. Set down to 0 all these stats at first. So now we are left with a lot of attribute points that we can spread, and now we're going through these. So agility is something I deem as very, very important. No matter what character you will play, it affects your total amount of action points per turn, and I personally can only say you cannot have too many action points per turn. So if you can't afford it in any way, I highly recommend you to set this up to max. Same goes for health. Only cut it down if you really need the points for somewhere else. It's a decent spot to go down to 70 or whatever you feel well with, but health is survivability and therefore never a bad thing. Dexterity is something which is only really relevant if you want to stealth a lot and if you want to go for a lot of aiming shots. Otherwise, you will feel totally okay with the 70 on that if you don't want to go too deep into any other gameplay. You could also go as far as 60, but I personally like ranged combat, and if you like ranged combat, the 70 is really getting you there. Strength. So strength is really only important if you want to go for either explosive lobbing or melee. If you are neither of those, it's all about inventory space. So this is another point where you could save up some strength points. If you don't want to go for melee or throwing, you could go even for as low as 50. Keep in mind though, it reduces the total amount of loot your character can carry, but that's really the only downside. If you have a pure ranged character, this is a really, really nice point to save. And if you want to go for explosives and melee, this is where you cannot save too many points. Leadership. Leadership is something where you could actually leave it at 30 at all points, except for if you want to have your main character or your custom character as the highest leadership dude. The thing is, in the mercenary roster where you can hire people, dudes with a high leadership value are rare. There are really only a few mercenaries that have a high leadership value. Therefore, I leave it up to you. I just want to point out that even with a mediocre leadership value, you can still train people. It's not that mandatory to have it on a high value. So, well, I'll leave it up to you. You can specialize it if you want to have a good leader that is not bound to the roster, go for it, or save your attribute points for your favorite build. It's up to you. Wisdom though. Wisdom is only 1 point, and this is that. Why do I think so? Because wisdom is influencing the ability to gain experience and to learn. That means the more wisdom, the better you can train the guy. And, you know, a mercenary can learn a lot of things over the course of the time, and having a high wisdom, as far as I understood the game mechanics, lets you learn faster. Therefore, a wonderful stat. Also, it affects the ability to notice hidden things, and that's always a good thing. But seriously, if you want to increase the values of your mercenary via training, which I highly recommend because it's really, really good, have a high wisdom. Now then, marksmanship. Well, if you are somebody like me, I love to shoot in games like these, go for a max value. Otherwise, I'll leave it up to you. And mechanical, explosives, and medical. So this is really, really up to you. Mechanical is very useful to unjam your weapons personally. So if you would like to unjam your weapons on the field, really good thing. Also, if you don't want to hire any mechanics mercenary for whatever reason, you could fill in the gap here as well. Explosives is, well, the same thing. If you want to replace somebody out of the AIM database with your personal explosives expert, go for it. Otherwise, the stat is only important if you want to lob grenades. But if you want to lob grenades, it's vital. Don't go for anything less than the maximum if you want to go grenading. Because honestly, it's really that important. Because with a low skill value in explosives, you have a high mishap chance, and that means you blow up yourself in the worst case scenario, and I really dislike that. Therefore, if you want to go explosives, don't forget to pick up the strength, because that gives you throwing range. And medical. So medical is a really nice dump stat, because it never hurts to have a few points in medical, because I personally like to have a bandage kit on every one of my characters in case they start bleeding on the battlefield. Otherwise, well, only if you want to be a dedicated doctor. Apart from that, you can leave it really down as at 0 or however you want to play it. But there's a lot of good medical mercenaries out there, and therefore you can really just skip that. And the rest is really up to the build that you want to play. So speaking about build, let's get on over to the next thing. Let's say, as you see here, I'm building towards a marksman, more or less. So since I don't feel well about the dexterity, marksman, I'd go for a lower amount of HP. And let's say I don't want the explosives, so let's go for dexterity max, that, and let's say something like that. I think that would be okay for a ranged character. Now, perks is another really nice thing. So first off, personal perks. These add all conversation options, and I personally recommend you to have one of these perks in your squad each. It just opens you to all different quest solutions, and that's a lot of fun. So if you happened to not be able to pick up one of these 3 perks on the AIM database, that's one way to do it. Apart from that though, Psycho is really cool for melee because it gives you that vicious extra attack. Scoundrel is really good because it can give you weapon swaps for free. That can be really interesting, especially if you like to charge in and swap between ranges a lot. And Negotiator cuts down on money, and this is one that I want to point out most, because there's really a low amount of negotiators out there. Scoundrels, you find a few more, which I personally also find quite useful. And Psycho, well, Psychos and negotiators are quite rare. Oh well, Scoundrels are so too. Go for whatever you like there, but know that this way you can take the extra conversation options you missed. And this personally for me is something I really like. Now then, tactical perks. These are most about what kind of build you want to follow. Either you want to go for automatic weapons, so this is for assault rifles, this is for handguns, really powerful if you want to go for handguns, and handguns can be mained as a weapon because they really are so nice in close quarters. This heavy weapons trait is mandatory if you want to play with heavy weapons, because lowering the AP cost of setting these things up is so valuable, because really heavy weapons are stupidly powerful if you can get into position. So if you want to play with it, pick this up. It's so good. Don't try to play without it, even, in my humble opinion. So martial arts is amazing for stealth characters. Totally recommended for stealth melee, because that is just giving you a higher success chance. And hand-to-hand, well, if you want to go melee, I'd personally not go without these together. It's so good. It's really just so good. You can wreak havoc upon your enemy. Mr. Fix-It is good if you want to replace the mechanical mercenary via your custom character. Night Ops, really good for any type of sniper character, because, well, accuracy is really good. Just sad that it doesn't work for foggy or rainy weather, or there's no other perk, but whatever. Stealthy, if you want to stealth, very powerful, especially since it also increases the chance to one-shot enemies. So combination like this would be, for example, a really nice stealther. Teaching, really cool, but Only something if you don't know what to do with your second point. The extra 10% XP for your squad are really, really tasty. Don't underestimate them, because that means extra perks and new perks for everybody faster. And throwing, oh boy. If you want to play explosives, please pick up throwing as well, because it's just such a massive combo. Now, you have a lot of options here, and it really depends on what kind of build you want to play. For example, here I wanted to do a sort of a ranged character, so I'd be going for something like this, or something like this, or something like this. All options. I just wanted to point out that whatever you do, go in with a plan. Try to build the character with a certain specialization, and you get the best results, in my humble opinion. I really hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions left there, ask away. Comment section's open for you. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and of course I'd be delighted if you even subscribe. There's a lot of info content on my channel coming up, daily new stuff. Speaking about that, there's also a playlist link down there leading to the Jagged Alliance 3 stuff I did so far, so if you want to knock out yourself with even more info videos, that's the way to do it. Have a wonderful day. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Thanks a lot for your time and attention, and hope you will enjoy this game more now. See you there.